Our next story comes from Reddit user Arthur Fukin Dane. I'll try my best to keep this as short as I can while remaining coherent about it. When I was young, my grandma always called me Mizpah as a nickname. Being young, I never thought much about it or its meaning. I ended up losing her in a tragic way at the age of 17, which affected my life in a negative way for a good amount of time. I was never necessarily religious or even spiritual for that matter. But after her passing, I begged for a sign for the longest time, to no avail. Fast forward. I've never been good with people romantically, like ever. Never been in a real relationship or experienced any true, deep connection with anyone. That is until September of 2023. This girl got hired at my work. How I even ended up at this store in this state is in and itself a story with its many synchronicities. I was asked to train this girl, and we hit it off incredibly well very fast. And while we never dated, because technically she has a boyfriend, over the span of 7 months, we grew insanely close with one another to the point where we were nearly inseparable. And despite her being in a relationship, long distance, mind you, they never even met each other, there was this very real chemistry between us. So what do these two parts have to do with one another? Well, just over 2 months ago, I was at her house and we were watching some random YouTube series about the paranormal, which in part dealt with communicating with the dead. Halfway through the episode, I paused and decided to finally come around and being open with her about exactly what happened with my grandma. And part of that was telling her how I begged for a sign for the longest time but never received one. But in hindsight, I'm happy I didn't, because I probably wouldn't be able to handle it. But if I were to receive a sign now, I think I'd be at peace with it. I then resumed the episode, and after it ended, I started to bring up my grandma once again. And as I did, my phone started to ring. Who was calling? It was my grandma's old phone number. I actually instantly broke down about it because I had never experienced anything paranormal ever before. I didn't answer the phone because I was too shocked, honestly. I let it ring, then after composing myself, called back, and some random guy answered, saying he didn't make any calls and was just on his way to grab groceries from the store. That was that. I told her, and another friend more recently, that I feel like that was my grandma's way of saying she was watching over us. It gets weirder. Fast forward to Easter of this year. Due to some stupid situation taken out of context the day before, me and this girl had a falling out. We haven't seen each other since, and have only argumentatively spoken like twice. Aside from that, I've just been focusing on myself, as one is supposed to do in these situations. Well, a few days ago, I had the urge to treat myself. I've always wanted to own a piece of jewelry, but something antique, something from Victorian times. Within a short amount of time on Etsy, I found a sterling silver ring with a single word imprinted on it, Mizpah. After laughing at the no way feeling about it, I had to finally see what that word meant after all this time. It's a Hebrew word that means watch over. It became popularized during the Victorian period, wherein couples would gift each other rings with this word to keep them safe while they were apart from one another. I've experienced a good amount of synchronicities with this girl, but this one borderline is haunting. A little extra crazy thing about the ring I found out too, and I did end up buying it by the way, is that the maker's mark is BNB, which coincides with the initials of the girls and I's surnames. Wild, right?